Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar, Education, Collaboration, Transformation, Lessons Learned from HVO's Rehabilitation Project in Suriname. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to introduce you to today's moderator, Dr. Jenny Audette. Dr. Audette is an associate professor at the University of New England, where she has served as the program director until June 2023. She has a PhD in education from the University of Rhode Island and 19 years of experience in PT education. Over the course of her career, she has worked in a variety of clinical settings and served for 10 years as the Director of Rehabilitation at the Rhode Island Hospital. Her research is focused on international opportunities for physical therapy students, as well as faculty practice. Dr. Audette serves on the American Physical Therapy Association Academy for Leadership and Innovation Board of Directors as the Director of Social Responsibility and is the chair of the APTA Global Health Special Interest Group. Dr. Audette has been a member of HVO since 2007. She is currently the project director for rehabilitation in Guatemala and has served as a member of the Rehabilitation Steering Committee. Throughout her time here at HVO, she has volunteered with her colleagues in Suriname, Haiti, and Guatemala. In 2019, she received the HVO Golden Apple Award to honor her commitment to improving global health and her positive impact on HVO project sites across the globe. Please help me today in welcoming Dr. Jenny Audette.
Thanks for that really nice introduction, Lauren. I am really happy to be moderating this session today to talk about a very successful HVO project in Suriname at Anton de Kom University, which we will also refer to as ADECUS. I'm happy to be part of this webinar because I traveled back and forth to Suriname several times between the years 2008 and 2014 to help with their curriculum revision and do some teaching. It's my honor now to introduce our three panelists. I'm going to give very brief introductions as their bios have been shared on social media and the publication, the marketing information for this webinar, and I think it's more important just to get to our panelists' questions. So first, I'd like to introduce Tony Chang. Tony has decades of personal and historical knowledge of physical therapy in Suriname and of this HVO project. At the time the project started, Tony was the physical therapy program director. Now Tony is retired, but still keeps his hands in things and continues to care very much about physical therapy in Suriname. Our second panelist is Tim Kaufman. Tim was one of the earliest HVO volunteers in Suriname, and he's based in the United States, but traveled there several times to teach in his areas of expertise, geriatrics, and other related topics. And finally, our final panelist is Roshni Ramdas. Roshni was a student in the ADECUS program while HVO was involved. She has since furthered her education, specializing in the area of neurology, and returned to be on the ADECUS faculty. And since March of last year, she has served as the director of the physical therapy program. So thank you so much, panelists. Just two things. We thought it would be sort of fun if in the chat you'd like to post where you're watching from or where you're listening from. That'd be wonderful. And also just a reminder to post any questions that you have during the session into the chat, and we will get to them at the end of the panelist statements. So let's get started. Tony, can you tell us a little bit about how this project began?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me say hello first. We started with our PT program in 1996. And after a couple of years, we learned that there was a little shortcomings because we were all clinicians and we were not trained to be educators. We were not trained to be trainers. We were not trained to develop curriculum. And we have reported that also to the NACR, the North American Caribbean region of the WCPT. And during one of the meetings, APTA suggested us to ask for help to the organization HVO. And that we did in 1997. We had as guests two people from HVO, Kim Dunleavy and Fritz Hunsel, and they came to Suriname to do a site assessment to look if it was feasible to do a program with us. And the first volunteer arrived in 1999, May 1999. Judith Canfield came to Suriname and she helped us in the beginning with how to develop, how to make a curriculum, how you define the goals, the objectives, and how you have to do. And she had taught us also to how to do the lectures, how the skills, and be after that process, we have learned a lot from her during 2 weeks. I think she was here. And after that, we had to define also the needs, the special needs, because if you look at the objectives, the goals that we want to achieve, is not only learn how to develop a program, the curricula, but also how can we fill in the courses. And because we were not educators, and so HVO sent us a lot of volunteers to do the courses during the years. I think, is it enough? And then you know how it started.
Thank you, Tony. Tim, as an early volunteer, what were your impressions?
Well, Tony, that was great history that I did not fully understand, but I arrived for my first time in the year 2000, and I was not teaching curriculum, but the university was very supportive, and Tony was extremely supportive. And for me, it was a wonderful experience to meet these new young students and help to promote this program, which I saw had tremendous potential. So it was my honor to be there. And so I went back a couple years later and a couple years after that. So it was my honor. And Tony had groomed some of his first students to take some assistant leadership roles. And again, the university was very supportive.
Thank you, Tim. Tony, why was Anton de Kom interested in launching a project with HVO, and what were the initial goals that you set out to achieve?
The objective was to assist the faculty by developing the program, the curricula. And because we did something, but we were working on the program of medicine. And after a couple of months, we have learned that it is not, the focus is different. If you teach, and even basics as anatomy and physiology, to do it for medicine students and to physical therapy students, you have to put your focus on the another way. And so we know that we have to change that program. We cannot copy the program from medicine. And so, and that's why we needed assistance. We could not do it by ourselves because we were not trained to do that. We were clinicians. And that was the first objective of this program, of this HVO collaboration program. And that is what Judith came to do in Suriname first. And after that, we said, okay, we learn how to define the objectives of the curricula, and then how you have to do it, and how you have to teach, what is problem-based learning, different basics maybe, but for us it was new. And after that, we saw also the shortcomings of the different areas. And Tim, for instance, he taught us that the geriatrics, he did a course on the geriatrics. We needed him later on, not in the beginning of our collaboration program. The first years was more how you have to organize the whole program. And after that, we find out which courses have to be delivered. And it started with musculoskeletal, we have neurology, and geriatrics is one of the last one. That's why when Tim mentioned 2000, this a couple of years later, and gradually we have learned also that we have to do it by ourselves. And that's why we took also one of our goals is to train our future trainers. Yeah, how you do that, and that is in the planning. And I think we had the luck to have the collaboration program with Belgium, who offered us another collaboration program, universities of Belgium and with us. And then we had to find out, okay, what is necessary now? What we need to do now? Is it a different way of the HVO, what the HVO have helped us with all the years, and with the Belgium program? And so we were at that time we were already in the status and the phase that we have to think about how do you want to grow. It's a bachelor's program, 4 years. I think it is time now to think of how can we upgrade it into a bachelor's master's program, because all universities are striving for to upgrade their programs. And that is what was happening with us. We said, okay, how do you have to do that? So we decided to ask again the assistant of HVO to do it together with us. And so you came in. And that is the time, if you look at the time frame, you see you came in, I think 2006 or 2007, I think. And that's the first time that you came. And what you were doing was not only teaching, that is one part of it, but the other part was also to help us to evaluate the old program, the old curricula, and how we have to translate it. Our program was all the physical therapists from that time, were from Holland. So we were trained the European way. But we started the program with HVO, and that was more the American focus. And if you're working now with Belgium, you're going back to Europe. So we have to find a way to bring both together. If you want to make it international, that means you have to look not only to the left side, but also to the right side. And so we came together to collaboration with HVO and the Belgium universities. And so we have the program now. There's a mix of both sides. And I think we can compete also with the international world now.
Thank you for that background information, really helpful. Tim, as an early volunteer from HVO, did you get a sense that the university was supportive of HVO's engagement there?
Yes, very supportive. I think that the other faculty members that I met were also enthusiastic about this program, and really were delighted to see it succeeding. So yes, the university was very, very helpful, as was Tony. and Nancy was very helpful too, because she started to help with Yeah, she
And she
started.
started as a student.
Yes.
She was
She was
one of the. She's one of the
in my
first
class.
students. Yeah.
Yeah, she was one of my students. So, but
Yeah.
I think the university helped to groom, Roshni and the whole program, because I think they benefited, the population of Suriname benefited from that effort.
Yeah. Great. So let's talk about how the project progressed and what activities actually occurred kind of on the ground during times when volunteers were there. So I have a question for each of you, but I'm going to start with Roshni. Roshni, you were a student at the beginning of the project. What impacts did you see as a student?
Oh, yes. Well, it was a great experience to start with. The collaboration and the associated activities really had a positive effect on the students, directly or indirectly. I mean, on the one hand, if you look at our staff members at the time they took the initiative to start this collaboration with HVO, they set a really great example for us as a future generation, in the sense that, even if you don't have everything you need to reach your goals, if you take responsibility, if you commit and try to reach out to the international community, you may come far ahead. And that is exactly what happened. They reached out to HVO, and I may also proudly announce, look how far we've come. It's a great example to show us what is possible if you try to connect and collaborate. There are possibilities. So that was one part. And on the other part, the exposure to the lecturers themselves, the volunteers, was really exciting and very inspiring. I myself was a student at that time. And, it's just in the way they designed the courses and the learning activities. These were designed in such a way that it provided a very inspiring and enriching learning environment. It's not that the lecturers or the volunteers came and say, these are the rehab principles, this is the skills and the knowledge, and we transfer it, there you have it. No, they designed it in a way that, we were able to really absorb it, to make it our own, and to apply it in our own setting. So that was really amazing. You can find the facts and the anatomy and the neurology and everything you can find in the books. But it is, the passion they had in really facilitating the learning process to shape us as future physical therapists. And that was a really amazing experience. They really triggered our critical thinking skills, not only during the lectures, but also beyond the lectures. So to add some memorable features, at least that's how I have experienced it during that time, the lecturers, they really tried to connect. I think connect to collaborate, connect to lecture was really something that was woven in the whole collaboration. It's not just formal, like, oh yeah, what you need help with, let's help, I got the resources or I got the knowledge. No, the first step was always they try to connect before they lecture. I also experienced this in the lectures. And I think this was really crucial for a successful learning journey for us as students. So I, for example, remember our first assignment would be something like, who am I? And you were able to, in your own unique way, express who you are, where you come from. And, this is really important and crucial in a cross-cultural collaboration. And I think it was really one of the gems we had in this collaboration, that connection. Another thing that was one of the memorable features is it was really interactive, a really interactive learning environment, but also practical. So as I said before, it's not just, this is the gained knowledge, these are the practical skills, so you're ready. No, the courses were designed in such a way that at regular times there were assignments for in-class discussions. And, this in-class discussion really made sure that you could own the information, make it your own before you could apply it on patients or in your practical session. And then it didn't only stop in the in-class discussions. No, we went further. We had field visits. So we visited different physical therapy sites, and that really triggered us to think about, what will I do as a future physical therapist? There's a lot more that comes than just the knowledge and the practical skills, but to apply it in your own unique setting. So that was amazing. That is the impact it had on us at that time. It really inspired us. So yeah, that was it. Just to give you a nutshell of the impact it had on us as students, because there's a lot more.
Thanks so much. Tim, as an instructor, what sort of on-the-ground activities or virtual, some of it was done virtually, sometimes were you involved in?
One of my fondest moments teaching in Suriname was taking the group of students to a nursing home. And there, all the patients were as diverse as geriatric medicine, geriatric physical therapy is. Some were very paralyzed, some were very capable but unsteady. Some of them did not have good cognitive skills. And so each of the students had to match up with a patient. And I thought it was a tribute to the school, to the physical therapy program, because toward the end, a group of nursing students had heard we were in their big gymnasium, and they wanted to come in and watch. And there were two PhD candidates from the Netherlands who were present, and they said to me after the program, or after the clinical experience, how appreciative they were to see these people with their movement abilities or disabilities. So I think the students had a real opportunity to experience hands-on care. I think students everywhere across the world need as much hands-on care. As Roshni said, the bookwork is there. That's available, but you need to use it. I remember another time I went one-on-one with each student and said, you need to convince me, I'm your doctor, you need to convince me as the physical therapist how to convince me to do something. And so I took everyone out of the room and we went into another room, and it was one-on-one. And so it was actually what happens in the real world. And so they did quite well. Because I was asking, how do you apply what you learned? What's your book knowledge? But why do you want to do this to this patient? So you remember that, Roshni?
I do. I certainly do.
So I think that translation from or transition from book work and lectures to how to apply it, and then put your hands on your patient. What do you see? What do you feel? What are you watching? So it was to me a memorable experience, especially watching the students and the patients. The patients loved it. So wonderful experience.
Really
That's a
wonderful.
great example. Thank you. I wanted to just add that I can recall when I was teaching, we had some of the clinical instructors from the community come into class, which was also really powerful because they got to see what the students were learning, the level they were thinking at, and all those sorts of things, because many of those people had been educated in Holland or elsewhere and didn't know a lot about the PT program. So that had sort of a two-way benefit, which I think was really neat. So Tony, as the program administrator, what were you involved in? And were there any challenges that came up while things were happening?
Yes, of course. And you mentioned before that that the clinical instructors, and in the beginning, when we started with the program, I can remember that we got a lot of resistance of the field. People are not believing you. They ask me, "Oh, why are you doing this? It's not. It's impossible. What you're doing at the university, you will start a program and you will see. You train them to go abroad." I said, and in the beginning, it was very confusing because they were not stimulating you. They were skeptical, and I think by showing them with HVO also, and you bring them, the students also to them, let they see what you're doing, and then they starting believing. And nowadays you can see that there's a different mindset They believe it. They say, okay, this is our program. They are also proud of the program. But at the beginning, it was very stressful. If I compare the past and now, you can see also the difference of my responsibility. That in the beginning was I have to start with a program, and I have to go in the medicine program and look what the similarities are and how you can join together. And even with lecturers from medicine, I sometimes I have to fight with them because they were not doing what I expect from them. And by have meetings with them, they respect you because they thought, you know, that mostly the doctors, they thinking, yes, you cannot become doctor because you're afraid of blood. And even, you know, that's a course as communicate, how you call it, communication skills. And that was a problem because what I taught our students, that was the first group, the group of Nancy, what I taught them how to communicate with the patient was a different way as the doctors did. And so when I heard that, they said, okay, it's enough. I say, you're spoiling our students, you're frustrating them. And that's all the challenges. And I have decided I will do it myself. You don't have to teach our students because you're doing the wrong way. I say you cannot communicate as we are not no doctors. I'm glad we're not the doctors because you cannot you don't know the art of communication. Later on, when this curriculum development is an continuing process. And when we have to decide, okay, where we go now, we have the 4 years bachelor's. Are we satisfied, or will we go higher? Will we upgrade the program? And we decided to go for the master's part. I had another challenge. You have to bring it higher than normal. And myself, I have to upgrade myself also because I cannot be still on that level and then teaching people who are masters. I have to be higher. That's why I did my doctorate, I did my PhD. And so I have to challenge myself also. And that was the same time. If you see, when I got my PhD at the same time as the program had developed into 4 years bachelor's into a 5 years master's program. And that was another experience because I've seen how US people from American are thinking, and also how the people from Belgium are thinking. And we'll bring it together to Suriname, where we are multicultural, and how you can bring it together, and then you can fill in the needs of our society. And because that is our goal, we want to train our students to physical therapists for the society, and not for America, not for Europe, but you have to bring together, you have to join each other and to bring it to a competitive way to deal internationally. And so we started with, and it was a good experience. I don't know how you have experienced that because you are one of the members of the American side together with Marianne and who's
Leslie.
Leslie Glickman. Yeah, but we learn a lot from you guys, and then also from Eve and I forgot the name now from the other
Andre.
guy. Yeah,
Andre.
Yes, and that was another part of the story. Just I had another responsibilities. I had other goals, what I have to say. But altogether, yes, it's good experience for me.
Yeah,
I
the, I
start
mean, the
from
level of
scratch.
commitment of your faculty for going away and continuing their education to make it work is just incredible.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, thanks to my faculty members, it was a good team. I had a good team,
mhm.
and you know the people from the team. They were not all of them were physical therapists. Yeah, it's Malti and Sonia van Dijk, Malti Adin, Vijay. They were from different discipline, but they were also dedicated to
Yeah,
help us to
yeah,
do it
really,
together with us.
yeah, interested in the success of the program. Yeah. So Tony, what do you think the long-term impacts or positive outcomes have been?
First of all, we achieved our goals, and that was bring more services, PT services to the society. And if you see how we started, when we started, we were with 9 people in Suriname, and now we have more than 80. And it's still not enough because all of them, they are working in the neighborhood of Paramaribo, capital of Suriname. Uh, it's a pity that not all of them are interested to go someplace else, to go to the east or to the west. But I think it will change because with the development of what they say, the economic situation, and maybe I think it will change. I hope so it will change. And that is one of the impact. That is what we have achieved, and that's just I'm proud of. Okay, we reach our goal, and we have to go further. One of my wishes is also that they have to be more involved in the community problems. If you hear that what the need is, if you see the problems that the health problems that we're facing is same as I think anywhere in the world. We have the heart problems, we have the diabetic, we have the high blood pressure. We have all the problems, and we are a part of the solutions. We are the people who can help people, the patients, or not become patients. We can teach them how to be active. And I I wish that they were more involved in the problems of the society, and I don't see them yet. I don't know how come. Maybe they are busy to survive. That can be one of the reasons. Maybe we hope to find also a solution for that, and we we hope that the as will take this part of their role, and also the university, that they have to teach the students that if you're it's not only treating patients. Most important is to how can you avoid them to be a patient later on. And that means you have to give them health education, you have to show them what to do, and we have to be more proactive, and that is what I'm missing still. um, what we've seen also, that the current faculty, all of the old ones, they are retired now. There's only the whole faculty is now a physical therapy program. They are all uh, trained in Suriname. They are from our program, and that is I'm proud of. Is that this, and they're doing a lot of good work. They are PhD, they are scientists. They are very dedicated. If you see them, how enthusiastic, the way they're doing that, and I'm proud. I'm outside now, and I see how they're doing. And a couple of weeks ago, I met also the newcomers, the second year students, and the way they communicate with you. So, oh boy, I wish that I had this group before, and that okay, but it is a new group now, and I think it is good. It's a good
So
development.
you were not satisfied with my group, Dr. Shang?
Huh?
So
What?
you were not satisfied with me and my group back then?
No. I am proud of you. That's why I say. But not all of the groups. You know, there were also some groups that are very weak. You know, and one of the impacts is also that I made a lot of friends. I'm happy to see a lot of friends again. And if I'm visiting a meeting or a conference, and I meet Tim there, or Jana Billing, or Brett Stuckert, you know, it is good to see them again. You know, and they recognize you, you recognize them, and you can come up with the memories, sweet memories from them. And what I hope is also that all the volunteers who visited Suriname, that they got to know Suriname better now, not only as the students, or only the students and what they came to do, but that they know also more of our culture, the differences and the beauty of our nature, and the beauty of our society. Yeah. And of course, also our dishes and also Parbo beer, Tim.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think there are more impacts. You know, if you see the long-term impacts, there are more. But
Yeah. It was a wonderful place to get to know. I had to look it up on a map before I went. I had no idea where it was, but it's very unique and special and beautiful place. So I'm happy I got to learn more about it. Roshni, as the new leader of the program, what do you think some of the long-term impacts are?
Oh, wow, yes. So, you know, if you look at, I mean, I totally agree with Dr. Shang. If you look at what it did on a community level, just the fact that we have been able to provide the needed physical therapists for our community is a big achievement in itself. Looking from where we come from, we only had physical therapists from abroad, starting with 9, I think not even a dozen of physical therapists. And now we have our own physical therapist delivered from our program. I think that in itself is already a big achievement. And the HVO collaboration definitely had a crucial part in that. But also, if you look at the institutional level, yeah, HVO, the collaboration had a crucial part in, you know, also the transformation of the bachelor to the master program, a bachelor program to a bachelor master program. And with that foundation being laid, we were able to go on with our program, to monitor it, and to keep on developing our program. And yes, I can proudly say today that we've come to a point where we meet the international requirements for good quality higher education in PT. I mean, that is something that we wouldn't have been able to do if we didn't have HVO in our trajectory. Of course, we also had other partners. I should not omit to say that we also had collaborations with other universities, but I really truly experienced from a student perspective, but also now as one of the staff members, that HVO really had a crucial part in where we have come. So that is one thing. And also, you know, on a personal level, as I said before, these lecturers have from someone abroad, you know, that changes your perspective. It's not that we don't have good lecturers here, but for those parts where we didn't have lecturers for, someone comes abroad, they give you another perspective. And, you know, it has inspired us personally also in such a good way, such an amazing way. For myself, I have been inspired to consider lecturing. I didn't think about that at that time as a student. But then you see someone coming from abroad and who's passionate in facilitating your learning process and shaping you as a physical therapist. And, you know, it's like this fire catching on. You're like, oh, this is interesting. And for myself, I didn't consider lecturing, but I got inspired. I even got inspired to, you know, do something in neurology. I remember there was this woman who came and taught neurology, and she was so passionate And I think she doesn't even know, but I think that was the beginning for me to say, I think I might consider in neurology. I don't know. I think her name was maybe Dr. Jenny Odette or something. But that was on a personal level. It was really inspiring. But not only for me, I mean, this is just my experience, but I also remember from my other colleagues who were students at the moment, who are now successful physical therapists in society, but also lecturers and researchers at the moment. I mean, if I look at the people who, the staff members, a generation before me, I really want to call out their names. I can't call out all names, so I don't want to do that before I omit someone. But the generation of Nancy, Sergio, and all, I mean, these are now the trendsetters in research, and they also had a very important part in being where we are. So, you know, you see this ripple effect of this collaboration is on different levels. And it's still going on, this ripple effect, you know, like it's still here, the long-term impact. So, yes, I think that was it in a nutshell.
Can you share your announcement?
Excuse.
Can you share your announcement?
Your
Your
announcement.
recent
I
announcement?
had an announcement. Oh, sorry, I didn't understand.
I'm sorry, I was
Yes,
whispering
also,
just in case it wasn't supposed to.
sorry. No, thank you. No, I just we have been through a process. I already said it. I think we have come a far way. You know, every time you start something new, it's you know there are going to be things that aren't perfect yet, and along the way you start and perfect them and go on with help, of course, from other partners, and it becomes better and better and better. And this is also the case with our program. So I'm proud to announce that we have gone through the accreditation process for the bachelor program. And we recently heard that it's probably going to be we already had announcement that it's going to be a positive advice. It should still formally be communicated, but yes, this is amazing. This is just amazing. And I, from here on, also want to congratulate everyone. But I also want to be thankful for HVO. I think I want to take part of this, make use of this platform to thank HVO and all the collaborators, all the volunteers, you know, the partners of health volunteers overseas, but our staff members then, you know, they've done an amazing job. I mean, we are celebrating now an important milestone, but it wouldn't have been possible if long before we could celebrate this, important milestones, little milestones would have been in place. So I want to congratulate everyone, but also I want to thank everyone. This is just amazing.
Jenny, might I add that those physical therapists from Suriname who went to other countries for advanced degrees all did well and have contributed to the body of knowledge about healthcare. And Tony, your doctoral work was in exercise and of aging persons, and with an aim toward wellness and keeping healthy. So, you know, I just commend you, and it's a tribute to your basic education that you could move on to that advanced education, that you were ready for it and you reached that next goal. So my pleasure, my delight to know you, to have been with you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What a wonderful collection of positive outcomes. Really, really great. Before we open up for the audience to please post any questions in the chat, I was wondering if each of you would share a couple parting words of wisdom or recommendations that you have maybe for other project sites or volunteers who are working on similar collaborations. Tim?
Well, I think it's important to recognize that, as Tony was saying earlier, diseases are the same. It doesn't matter whether they're in Suriname or in India or Australia or the United States. Pathologies are the same, and the basic science is crucial, but it's got to be applied in each individual cultural difference. I taught in Nepal for HVO, and I was asked the question about pain. And many of the people are not of the Christian faith and believe in multiple lives. And this, so the pain could be coming from a previous life. And so you need to pay attention to the individual culture. And I answered by saying the Dalai Lama said that pain should not be part of life. But if you do have pain, it's better to be functional. And that's what we as physical therapists work on, is function. It's better to be functional with pain than to be non-functional with pain. So culture is crucially important. And Suriname has many. It's wonderful. Just wonderful.
Thanks for that, Tim. Tony, what are your words of wisdom?
Yes, if I don't know which country are joining us with this webinar, but if you're from another part of the world and you need the assistance of HVO, please define your needs and clearly indicate what you expect from HVO. And it helped a lot, because if you have the vision already, you say, okay, I think I need that and that, and you can define that, you can put it on paper for them, and then it helps a lot. And communication is very important. If you communicate with each other, and then you can, and nowadays it's very easy. You can do it by WhatsApp, you can video call, you can do by Zoom, and it's very easy to communicate with each other, and you can explain a lot. And when we started with the program, it was only email or phone. There was not WhatsApp, not Zoom yet, and it is challenging if you see what the world is today. And it is very easy to communicate with each other, and then don't have to cost a lot. It's very cheap to do the Zoom meeting now. It costs nothing. And I think it is very important. Define your needs and indicate what you expect from HVO, and that is important, very important.
Great, thanks for that, Tony. How about you, Roshni?
Yes, I totally agree with Tony and Tim. Just reach out. I think that is the most important. That's really the key word, reach out. I mean, I can relate. I mean, we come from a lower middle income setting, a low resource setting. And, it can be overwhelming to think of the idea of a collaboration, because most of the time you're preoccupied. I mean, if we can relate, we have, even back then, Dr. Shang, we have a really small group of staff members. So, the demands are very high. You have to take different roles at the same time, or more roles at the same time, to make sure that the program is running. So the idea of a collaboration might come as an extra burden, sort of burden like, oh, do I really want to do that because I'm preoccupied with making sure that things go well. But as Dr. Shang said, if you have a vision to go forward, just reach out, because it's not that complicated. And I think more than any organization, HVO can tell what the challenges are. They have many years of experience. They know what the challenges are in a low resource setting, for example. So they can even help to facilitate. So don't think so much of as complications and barriers, but more just reach out, have a preliminary support request, and then the ball just starts rolling. But really the key word is just start reaching out. I think that's the most important message.
Great advice, Roshni. While we're waiting for any questions in the chat, I have one for the group. If it's okay, Lauren, do we have anything waiting? Okay.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So my question is, what do you think the future holds for the PT program?
So yes, I mean, if we look at the evolution of our program, we've already come far way ahead. But continuous development is a really important aspect of a program, and we've always done it together with local but also international partners. So it's always a challenge to look at what are the demands of society now at the moment, and what are they going to be in a few years, because you have to prospect and make a vision for that. So I think we are again at some kind of a cross point where we have a bachelor master program, which is we're pretty solid now. But now we have to look at the future, like, which track are we going on? And I think we are at that point. What are the needs? I think, we deliver general practitioners. As physical therapists, we don't deliver specialized physical therapists, but if you see what is in the society, as Tim and Dr. Shang already said also, if you look at non-communicable diseases and all the things that come with a healthy lifestyle, the question is, okay, how can you make sure that your physical therapists in society are, they have enough tools to tackle these issues? So now the question arises, we know we have little resources, not only when it comes financially, but also in knowledge and specialized knowledge and skills. But still the question emerges, should we also consider maybe not a specialized physical therapist, but more postgraduate courses? So that is where we're going. But yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do that if we didn't have our bachelor master program stable enough. So, but those are the future prospects. We're right now starting with those discussions, and maybe we are now looking if in what manner we should collaborate with local, but also with international partners.
Very interesting.
Great. We actually have one question from the chat. Was there ever a language barrier when dealing with HVO volunteers? And if so, how was that dealt with?
Can I read the question because I didn't understand one part of it? Was there ever language barrier? Oh.
So from a student perspective, maybe I can get into that first. From a student perspective, not really. In Suriname, we are used to English literature, and a lot of our entertainment is also in English. So we were, although our official language is Dutch, we didn't have so much problems with English. Of course, when trying to have discussions or trying to think in English or reporting something in English, you had to switch, but I wouldn't say there was really a barrier with language. It was okay. So that was from a student perspective, but maybe Dr. Shang wants to go into this from the collaborators, the staff members.
I don't think that we didn't have any problem with the language. It is English, and I think most of our at school you got the English courses already, and from the basic schools. And if you turn on the television, then you will see only films from America, and you will hear also the bad words, but okay, it's part of it. But this is not a problem. We could. It is not a problem. Language was not a problem for us.
May I speak? From my perspective, it was not a problem either. Although I did intentionally slow down because medicine or healthcare has a lot of technical terms that are not in the movies. And so occasionally, if I saw that one of my students was a little puzzled, I would stop. And then the student would answer or ask the question, what does, whatever the word I used. And some of the other students would offer the word in Dutch. And so we all came back to the same recognition. So I didn't see it as a problem at all. But it developed a camaraderie among the students and with me. It worked really well. So again, no problems.
Yeah.
That's great. Thanks. So we have another comment from Jana Beeling, who I know you all know well. Jana was interested to learn how the collaboration between HVO and Suriname came to a successful conclusion. Tony, by any chance, do you have a bit of information on that?
I didn't hear, I didn't understand the question. If you want to repeat it for me, please.
Yeah, no problem. Jana Beeling was interested in learning how the collaboration between HVO and Suriname came to a successful ending.
Oh, okay. By reaching all the goals that we had defined in the beginning. And I hope I understand the question well.
Mhm.
Is that, yeah. And then by, if I needed, for instance, Jana Beeling to come to Suriname, and I explained to her what I need, what I expect from her, and then she fill it in for me. And if she didn't understand that, then I will hear from her. And I think it is mostly, it was not a problem at all, and they all did their job very well. They came to Suriname, and during the time here, I can hear from them what the problems are, but they were not not a few problems. It can be solved, and I think that's by having them here, having the volunteers here, we have reached our goal, and we are now in a phase that we can say, okay, we can do it by ourselves. All students, we have a lot of people who are graduated already, and they are working now, and they are, even the faculty are also former students from us. And I think that is, for us, is a success story. I don't know if I answered the question right. It's
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So one more question. We have someone who's curious how well you think physical therapists have been integrated into the interdisciplinary model of care within Suriname. Roshni, I see you laughing. Do you want to?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. So I might start with, there's still a lot to be done in Suriname when it comes to interdisciplinary care model. So yes, this is also something that we know we have to look into also as an educational program from education perspective. But we also know that it's a challenge because it's not something you do on your own as an educational program. There are different stakeholders who have a really important role in this goal. I'm thinking about policymakers, the Ministry of Health. I'm thinking about, you know, the paramedics and medicals in the field. I'm thinking about insurance companies, and we also. But we also start. We always start small. We start looking at what should we do, and I know in our process of curriculum evaluation and development, we already had some discussions like, how can you expect medicals and paramedicals to integrate with each other if you haven't taught them that in your curriculum? So maybe you should have courses on multidisciplinary care or integrative care. So you start there because you cannot expect them doing it if they didn't have the basics, if you didn't lay the seeds in your educational program. But that is, as I said, just one part of the puzzle because we have health policy and all the other things that we also need on top. But we're going to start with that. For what we can do in our scope. But it's definitely something that you have to do with a multidisciplinary team in our country. So it's starting. If I look at how many specialists like orthopedics and neurologists, they send their patients to a physical therapist, there's definitely been progress, not only to the physical therapist, but to all other paramedics like speech and language therapists, occupational therapists, etc. So there is progress, but I think there's still a lot to be done to talk about an integrative care model.
Okay, great. And we actually have one more question. Barbara was wondering which institution sponsored the new faculty?
It's part of a Ministry of Education. So it is the government is paying their salaries. It is a university as a part. It's not a private institution. It's a government care still. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Well,
I've
that is
seen-
our time for today. Oh, sorry,
I've
go
seen
ahead,
also-
Tony.
I've seen message of Nancy Kelly. Nice to
Yeah.
hear from her.
She doesn't go too far, thank goodness. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time to be with us today. Jenny, Tim, Tony, Roshni, we can't thank you enough for sharing your experience with us. The HVO community is grateful for all that you've done and for working with us to coordinate this discussion today. So thank you all so much. We appreciate all of our participants for taking the time and joining us, and I hope everyone has a lovely day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Welcome.
Bye.